Hey guys, welcome back to our couples podcast. This week, after the week that we've had, we settled on a topic of postpartum depression. Because although I'm 7 months postpartum, and this is by far the easiest and happiest I've ever been postpartum, it's our fourth baby, it was kind of a downer of a week. And I was like, this would be a really good podcast to make and talk about because I don't know a woman out there that doesn't struggle with it. And I really wanted a man's point of view and my husband's input in this because a lot of times after we have a baby and I go through something really difficult, whether it's an autoimmune flare or just having a really hard time finding that joy and connection with your kids and adjusting to a whole nother piece of the puzzle, and a whole nother element, your life just changing, I forget some of this stuff from time to time, and I'll be like, wow, this is so hard. I don't remember having to go through this. And
it's post-baby amnesia.
It's post-baby amnesia.
It's like amnesia of what goes on in the hospital.
Oh,
yes. I have to re-explain it to you. I know.
Expect. Well, part of that is I need you to just comfort me, like Lawrence, what are they doing?
It's like, nope, this is how you felt every time.
Every time I get an epidural, he's like, Shell, you freak out about this every time. I'm like, do I? I don't remember this. But starting out as new parents, the first baby was, I think, is most people's hardest. And that's just, for good reason. It's your first baby. You're adjusting to, even if you don't think of yourself as selfish people, which we did not think of ourselves as selfish people, you can't do.
It's a life change.
It's a complete life change. You can't go to the bathroom by yourself or shower and then the baby wakes up from their nap and they're crying and you're like, well, shoot, now what?
Yeah, your life gets a whole new time frame. Like you actually have to think about planning.
Yeah, and granted, babies sleep a lot, but it's finding that rhythm, finding what's going to work for you, and relaxing. I think a big part of being a new parent is learning to let go. That was the hardest part for me, especially. I didn't realize how bad my anxiety was until we had our first, and he had horrible colic, and I had a really hard time learning to breastfeed. And not just that I didn't want to give up, but I could not give up. I tried pumping and we tried giving him a bottle and he wouldn't take the bottle. We tried formulas. He was having a hard time gaining weight because I was having a hard time. And I was like, darn it, my sisters made this look so easy. Why is the most natural thing in the world so difficult? And that is also, I think, a huge factor for a lot of women's postpartum depression is feeling inadequate. And then the man's helpless.
Well, and go back to that, don't be afraid to find help. With the baby eating, there's lactation specialists. There's people don't feel like you're failing in your job as a new mom because you can't feed a baby. Sometimes there's something with a latch issue with the mouth or a milk supply. It's not necessarily you're doing something wrong. There's people out there that'll help figure it out. It's just for whatever reason there's just something not lining up between baby and mom, and they can help you bridge that gap, and then all of a sudden everything falls into place.
What's so sad is our last two babies have had horrible tongue, cheek, lip ties, and I've had to take them to the pediatric dentist she's a laser dentist, so she'll do a cold laser and just clip those lip ties and cheek ties and stuff, and it's a lot safer than taking them to your pediatrician and having them just snip it with the scissors. Yeah, it's a lot safer. It makes me feel better anyway. I felt so bad for her. It's probably why, I think it is, she was telling me why she went into this business. And it was because when she was a baby, she had these really bad, mouth ties. And in her mom's generation, this kind of dentistry, this kind of awareness for why women are struggling to breastfeed, it wasn't really known at all. It wasn't really an industry, so to speak. And her mom, the doctor actually told her mom, well, you're just not trying hard enough. Yeah. I'm like, well, no wonder why women get depressed. We do. We have these feelings of inadequacy. And like I said, this has been the best that I have felt postpartum, but after our first, he had such bad colic that he would scream anywhere we drove. And when I didn't have Lawrence's help and support, just him being with me was like felt supportive, you know, because I'm not in like going through it alone. It made me feel better. But when he wasn't there, if I had to go to a doctor's appointment, the chiropractor, grocery shopping, anything, we live a little far out. So everything's basically 20 to 45 minutes away. And he would scream the entire time. And it wouldn't matter if I pulled over, fed him, burped him, soothed him. The second he was in his car seat, it was like, and he still gets car sick. The second he gets in the car, even now he's 9, he complains about feeling car sick. But, you know, it's a rough time. I think, you know, get help if you need it. My postpartum, I think depression or anxiety, I think is mild in comparison to what I've heard a lot of women go through. I haven't really known any moms with super severe depression other than a mom like hearing phantom cries. That kind of. Yeah. Well, like I hear that, but it's not like a depression thing. It's kind of like, is that the baby? Like the second I get in the shower, it was like, is the baby awake?
It's the hyper alertness.
Or just like me worrying and the baby's not awake at all. Yeah. But going back to like adjustment phases. So after our second, I had really bad autoimmune flares. I don't even know if I would have had postpartum depression because I felt like I was in a really good place, but health-wise, the autoimmune flares was like devastating.
Yeah, like mentally everything was working, but your body was failing.
Oh, I felt so betrayed by my body. I hated life. I couldn't open doors. I couldn't drive for 3 months that year because I had such bad rheumatoid arthritis flares. I couldn't pick up a coffee mug or a water bottle because I couldn't get my fingers to touch. It hurt to get dressed. It hurt to brush my teeth. Even like trying to shampoo my hair, all my joints were swollen. It was like I lost my mobility. And I remember just Lawrence would have to put the baby in my arms to nurse her. It was devastating, and the hardest part of that was not knowing if it was going to end. I think that's the hardest part of anything. Even the postpartum depression is you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're in it.
Yeah.
And do men go through anything like that? Like, how do you feel after you have another baby?
Nothing like that.
I mean, aside from being
tired.
More
responsibility, but I mean, I guess everyone's going to be different. As far as like how you're going to handle, you know, yes, you're going to be tired all over again, but again, that depends on, you know, the guys, what kind of job they're used to and things like that. But I mean, as far as the depression goes.
Well, you don't feel depression, but like maybe added stress because like you said, added responsibility.
I mean, yeah, it's going to always, I mean, every kid's going to add another layer of complexity to everything.
You've always been so amazing at helping me though, because I remember after we had our first, I never asked you to change diapers or anything. When the baby would wake up during the night, you would just do it and hand him to me, and I never once asked you to do that. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Still being a light sleeper.
Yeah, that's why you do it, because you're a light sleeper, right?
Hey, you know what? Remember the story I told you when like you wouldn't wake up?
Yes. Oh my goodness, that was after our second.
Yeah. So the baby wakes up in the middle of the night. I don't know what time it was, but
it was the day after we got home from the hospital.
No, I don't know. It was a couple of days. It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
But yeah, baby's waking up. She's not getting up, so I nudge her. Nothing's happening. I'm like, all right, I'll go pick up the baby. Baby's still crying. Start calling for her. Like I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to shake her, and there's nothing. Not a sound, not a flutter.
I thought I died.
Yeah, I was like panicking. I'm like sitting there. It took like 5 minutes to get her to wake up. Like I was starting to freak out, like, what is happening?
Didn't you check to see if I was still breathing?
Yes. But I was actually like full on like shaking your whole body and you weren't responding.
That's not normally me. I'm not a heavy sleeper.
No.
Because I've had a chronic insomnia my whole life. Even when I was a little kid, I've had horrible time sleeping. It does not come easily to me. Pregnancy and postpartum makes it all that much worse. I think I've just become used to living on the bare minimum of sleep.
Yeah, but clearly at that point your body did not.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, that was really scary. So that was a really hard time postpartum with our second. I felt like going from 1 kid to 2 kids was really easy though, because they are little playmates for each other, and the baby's distracted by the older one in such a cute way. Like, you know, just seeing them play on the floor together, it brings you such joy. But going from 2 to 3,
that was rough.
That was the hardest time I think we have ever had as parents. And my postpartum depression and anxiety was at an all-time high. I remember it hit me like a truck. 3 weeks postpartum, I was just like, could not stop crying. Could not stop crying. We were trying to look for a house and nothing was working out, and prices just kept going up because this was 3 years ago and the housing was already so bad because of COVID. But things just kept going up, and it was just like all our dreams seemed unattainable. The house was just such chaos. Like,
so at that point, the baby's not following the one kid. The other two
they're
are
old
now
enough
fighting,
to fight.
and so then it's like then there's the other kids you're dealing with, breaking up arguments while you have another baby screaming.
Yeah, and as if it's not difficult enough trying to, you know, bring another baby into the home, the third one, and keep that going, like keep your routine going with older kids while trying to take care of a newborn, which, like I said, granted they sleep a lot. There's still a lot of work though, especially if you're breastfeeding full time and sleep deprived. But you're also learning how to parent toddlers.
Yeah, it's not like you got a 2-year-old that you're dealing with. Now you're dealing with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
And I know there's a ton of books written on this. But you know, if you think about the average American family, or even just the average family in the world, I don't think, like, most people do not have more than 2 kids.
It seems to be a norm.
But it breaks my heart at the same time when people have 3 kids and they're like, they put their hands up like, that's it, we're done. Because although 3 was, like, I kind of felt that way, like, it's tempting. That's not an option for us. 4 is pure joy.
As I say, it was so much easier going to 4.
Oh man, this has just been the best time. But it was a really hard week because we had put in an offer on a house and it got denied because it's just all we could afford. And that hit me really hard. And then, if you can't tell from my voice, I'm still recovering from the sickness that I had last week when we did our podcast. I feel fine. It's just, I was wiped out this week. I wiped out from being disappointed, wiped out from being sick. And, you know, your hormones with a baby, they're always changing. And I think that I'm trying to give myself grace. But on Tuesday, I was having a really hard day. And I called Lawrence at work. I hate bothering him at work, but when I need my husband, I need my husband. And I told him, I know what I need to be happy. Like, when I get depressed, I need to get out. And that's not normally me because I'm introvert, but I know that's what I need even if I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get out with 3 kids at home because I was like, is the amount of work going to make it worse? You know, like, shopping with 3 kids is super not fun. It's just not. Like, if I went and did the grocery shopping, get out.
Yeah, it's like overcoming that hurdle. Like, you know what you want that'll make you happy. It's just, but whether it's the depression or stuff, it's putting up that little block. Like, it doesn't want you to take that one last step.
Yeah, it's an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, it makes it like, is it really worth the effort? But it's like, it gets worse if you don't try to make that step and just do what you know is going to help relieve some of that tension. And
I still pushed through. I still did my workouts. I love lifting weights. I still worked out. I tried to get, like, all my housework done, but I had zero motivation. Like, it was one of those weeks where, and this is very uncharacteristic of me, I just kind of let it go. I let it go until I could have Lawrence's help on the weekend. And I was like, I just need to focus on taking care of the kids. And we were talking about this in regards to anxiety. Like, one of the nights where I was just telling him, like, I just feel so much better with him home. Like, it's weird as a mom. Tell me if this is you. I want to hear it in the comments. As a mom, it is very strange that you can be surrounded by children, all your babies, and you love them to pieces, and they love showing you stuff and doing things with you, whether it's making bracelets with your daughter or pretend making cupcakes with them or playing trains with your little boys, and you feel lonely. You feel empty. And I want, even if Lawrence is home and we're not together, like, he's in the other room, or I'm folding laundry and he's out here getting work done on the computer or something, just feeling him in the house. It's like when that brief time where we didn't have a dog, and we're like something's missing. Like this just feels off, you know, because you're just used to that like extra little body presence milling around.
Yeah.
And it's weird that your kids aren't that kind of company. That your spouse. I mean, like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You're so comforting. Because they're always there.
Yeah, his presence just means that much to me, and so it's really strange that you can feel lonely like that.
Surrounded by people.
Yeah. But I forced myself to get out Thursday and with all the kids. And I took them to Hobby Lobby and let them pick out crafts, and just seeing how excited and happy they were and looking at everything. I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, they need to get out too. Like this is a really good idea. So just seeing their joy made me more joyful and really helped my mood. But the last kind of thing I wanted to touch on is one thing that I have noticed as a mom. If you're a new mom, I just like kind of keep this in the forefront of your brain. Like if you're going through this either postpartum or maybe you're pregnant and you just want to be prepared for this, the times that I have noticed major shifts are obviously like almost immediately postpartum, or kind of like around that 2-week period where I think it's your estrogen drops down. And then also like if you breastfeed for a long time, I usually go a year or more. I always notice something around the time I wean the baby where I get another funk. And it lasts like a month. And I remember with Christian, our first baby, laying in bed, and he was probably like 14 or 15 months old, and I had weaned him, and I was super depressed. And I told Lawrence, I said, he's like, how can I help you? And because it had probably been several weeks, and I said, I'm just waiting to wake up happy. And I know there's herbs you can take, there's medications you can take, and I've taken herbs, I've tried medications, I just like to avoid them whenever possible. But at the same time, there's no shame in that. And if you need help, you need to get help. Like, you need to be there for your kids, and you need to be the mom that you want them to remember. Same for husbands.
Well, and again, it's like don't feel like you're failing.
Yes.
If you're getting those feelings of like being down or being depressed or feeling like you're not being able to provide enough for the kid or for the baby and whatnot, like there are resources, whether it's finding a medication or an herbal supplement or something, or going to, like we said, like a lactation specialist or something. Like, take those steps. Yeah. Don't let like pride or something stop you from accepting like that you need a little extra help to get there. Yeah. Like there's nothing wrong with that. That's why they're there. That's why those specialists are there. That's why those supplements are there, because you're not the only person going through that. And just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to seek out that help, because it'll make a huge difference.
And people know, like, I'm a nutritionist. I eat healthy. That does have a big, part in how you feel all the time. But I do eat healthy, all the time. Like, I have a treat every day, but I still eat. Lawrence has said, like, how the heck do you eat so healthy and you have these autoimmune issues? Like, autoimmune is just the way God made me. Me eating healthy keeps in control. But when it comes to postpartum, women do some crazy things. And please don't come at me because I'm about to say something very controversial, but eating your placenta is disgusting. And where's the science behind this? People are going to start posting the science. I have firsthand known people who encapsulate their placenta and eat it, and they swear it helps them, but I've still seen them depressed. I still see them with wild anxiety. And when you're in it, you don't always see it. And Lawrence has had to point that out to me, like, because a lot of times, especially with our first baby, I've always been the woman, because I'm a type A personality where it's like, I got this. I remember crying to you and telling you, like, how come everyone else gets so much help? Do you remember what you said?
Because you don't act like you need help.
I don't act like I need help because I'm always that person where I don't want people's pity. I have a really strong personality, and I don't, it's like that personality where it's not that I like need people to think I have it all together.
No, but it's like that self-confidence, that pride, not in like the simple way of pride, but where it's like, I can handle this. And like I said before, like if you're feeling it, you know, put that self-pride to the side and just accept the fact that if you need help, ask for it or seek it out.
I just don't like to wear a face of martyrdom.
You know what I mean? And that's just it, because like there are other people that they'll go the opposite one, and they'll want to make sure that everybody knows how miserable they are, that everybody feels pity for them and sympathy for them.
And for me, I feel bad.
There's extremes on both sides. It's like, but for what we're like, for her, it's like it's okay to ask for help. Like no one's gonna think less of you.
That's my problem. I have a really hard time asking for help. I'm super good at it now. Don't you think? Aren't I better at it now? Sure. Sure you are.
We'll go with that.
That would be nice. But there's two other things I want to talk about before we wrap this podcast up. And one of them is PMS, because I get that like a killer. And sometimes it's worse than others. This is another one of those times where I feel really bad for men, because they cannot relate to this. I mean, he'll see me through it, like I'll snap his head off, and Lawrence is the most patient, kind, loving husband. He will literally just like turn the other cheek. Like he understands, and he just kind of blows it off, which is like a superpower, man. That's big.
Take the small amount of pain, or you fight it and just get more.
Just get more. That's very smart. You should like be giving out this advice to husbands everywhere. Or
just gotta embrace it. It's only gonna get worse.
Well, and I feel like, so I track everything. When I say I have really bad PMS, as soon as I get a migraine, I write it on the calendar. And that's when I started noticing, like, oh my goodness, this is all of the symptoms. Everything I was feeling from pretty much since I was a teenager has been PMS. It's
you start making patterns to it, and then you'll see that. It's like tracking cycles and stuff like that. Like you'll start to realize, like, you know what, this is like with multiple pregnancies. Like you look back, like, okay, this is exactly the same time I felt this way last pregnancy.
I know. I always know I'm pregnant before the doctor knows. Like,
but even after that, like postpartum stuff, she can track it. Like, okay, at a month postpartum on the last pregnancy, I was feeling this.
Oh yeah, I do write that stuff down now.
So I mean, and that's something where if you're good at charting and almost like journaling, but not, but just data diary, where it's like you can just keep tabs on, like, I'm feeling really, really weak today, or like everything hurts, like, you know, write that stuff down so you can compare the next time around. I'm so glad
you brought that up, because I forgot about that. That's a really good point. So I have it looks like a yearly, it's just like a big thick journal. Yeah, like a planner. And for each of my pregnancies, I've written the day I got a positive pregnancy test. I still have in there my positive pregnancy test day from the baby we lost. And that page is just kind of blank there. But then our firstborn, and I tracked everything. Like if month to month, I would track it, like how I was feeling, how my monthly doctor appointment went, if I was getting leg cramps, what supplement I did to counteract that. That would actually be a really good podcast, talking about supplements and like which ones are the best for those different things. Because for pregnancies, I've worked out a lot of kinks. And so, by the time this fourth pregnancy has rolled around, I was getting like migraines or leg cramps, or you get bloody noses. And I'm like, what did I do for this? Like, because I don't remember, and I haven't experienced this since the second pregnancy, those types of things. And so my mom did not teach me this stuff. And my mom actually like complimented me. She's like, I just love how you do that. She's like, I never thought to do that. No one ever told me about doing that. And it was honestly because I've had such bad PMS, and I've had such chronic migraines and different problems, that I started tracking everything.
Well, especially like for people that are into those tracking, like the pregnancy apps where you can track, see how the baby's progressing and things like that. I know there's tons of those apps.
You just use the old-fashioned calendar.
But I'm saying, like, on your phones where it's like, this is now week, whatever. Like especially for people that are into that, where you're used to checking on things and keeping tabs. Like, do I feel like I'm progressing the same rate that such and such app says I should be?
Are you talking about being pregnant?
Yeah.
Or okay.
I'm saying for people. PMS. I know. But I'm saying people that are like that during pregnancy, where like they're on to tracking. Like, am I on target? Am I whatever it is, gaining weight or size or whatever like I should be.
Appropriately, yeah.
Yeah, for people like that, doing the postpartum stuff should be pretty easy. It's just a matter of just doing it.
Yeah, but the PMS, it's for me the hardest part of the monthly issues. Aside, like the migraines are hell, but I have like 2 days where you have that week where you're like starving, and then a week where you're like nauseous and food's not appealing, but then there's 2 days where, and it's not every month, but it's when it's just like I noticed it a couple times. I don't know if it's gotten worse or better with age, but there's like 2 days where I feel like almost angry inside. Like I can't stand to be in my own skin. And with kids, that's really hard to, I feel bad just feeling that way. Like even like I don't show it, and I it's like it's really hard not to show it and not react when something bothers you. And you like definitely like ask for help when you need it. But I would just tell Lawrence, like, I can't stand to be in my own skin today. I love our kids. I need to do something with them. And much along the lines of dealing with depression and finding what will not necessarily snap you out of it, but help you get through it. Like, me getting out with the kids. When you have PMS that's that severe, and mine's not always that severe, but when you do, you also need to find what's going to get you through this. Like what's going to snap you out of it so that your children aren't experiencing a mom that you don't want them to experience. I think that's really important. And the last thing that I wanted to cover in this podcast is the man's point of view. Like, what does it look like for you? I think that this is our way to heaven. For moms and women in general, I think that this is the most purifying sacrifice of our lives. If we just like offer all of this up, if we accept God's grace and just get through it, I think that this is our path to heaven. And I think that the man's path, the husband's path, is supporting us through it. Yeah, it's handling it. I'm not kidding. No, and that's the man's point of view. But I also want to hear you talk about it.
And that is the hard part, especially when you'll experience the different all the hormone changes and the mood swings during the pregnancy, but it comes after as well. And it's remembering it because it happens during, the cycles before pregnancy, just the normal woman's cycles. Like if you're in tune with your spouse, you're going to notice changes like throughout the month, happy times, sad times, angry times. It's going to happen. But especially after the pregnancy, it's just that much more. It's heightened so much more because there's just so much more, hormones just going all over the place. Yeah. So when your wife's super stressed or super angry or super sad, and just like if it feels like it's getting taken out on you, realize that that's just it'll pass. It's not like a personal thing.
I want to say though, real quick, it's not an excuse to treat your husband like trash.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying as the husband.
But you made it sound like just roll over and play dead.
No.
But he's trying to be really nice. He's trying to say don't pick a fight with your wife is what you're trying to say, isn't it?
No, I'm just saying when it's feeling high stress, or if it seems like your wife is like just targeting you or something, don't take it personal, like she's just trying to pick a fight. Like understand that there's a lot happening that is not like necessarily, it's not something you're doing something wrong. It might just be that she just has a ton of stress and that's just how it's coming out, or just a ton of emotion, and you just you're the big target. Might have to be the recipient of it for sometimes, but at the same time the alternative is someone that'll just bottle everything up inside and just sometimes they need an outlet, and sometimes you have to be there and just
push them to the
whether it's and just kind of like being that sounding board sometimes, whether it's sad and you just need to listen to them explain to you why they're sad, or let them cry because they don't know why they're crying, but they just need to cry, and be there for that. Or if they're feeling really angry, don't react to that anger, like hear them out. Sometimes you might have to, get yelled at for something you don't quite understand why you yelled at, but sometimes that just happens.
I've never yelled.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying as in general, like what might happen,
Yeah.
I'm trying to give more just general scenarios, and my point is just don't like internalize it as the guy. Like, don't take that personally. You know, give them the benefit of the doubt that it's just because of everything else that's going on. They gotta vent. They gotta let some of this emotion out rather than just keep letting it bottle up inside and then, you know, have either a big depressive episode or something like that. Like, you gotta, if they're needing to just expel that energy, just be there for that.
So this reminds me of a couple things. I was telling someone the other day that female hormones are a beast behind a pretty face. And they're very hard to get a grip on when they're in balance. And right now, not just, you know, postpartum, pregnancy, all the things, whenever they're changing like that, there's no equilibrium. There is no normal to your day and your life. You're constantly like, it's like you're like going through rapids, right? By yourself. Hopefully you're wearing a life jacket. And this kind of like what Lawrence was just saying kind of reminds me of when we were first married, because I think that for men, newlyweds especially, it's very hard not just getting to know the person that you fell in love with, but keeping that level of knowledge when they are changing. Like, we're both always changing, right? We're changing with every baby we have, with every life experience we have, with new jobs, with new friends. But you have to change together. You have to always want to get to know each other. And after a baby, romance is kind of dead. It is. It's not the season where you get to bond with your husband. It's the season.
You're not wooing the person.
No, you're not. And the husband has to be respectful of that. And it's the time in your marriage where they truly have to be like, okay, I'm your best friend. We are in this together. We're going to get through this season. And then we will woo each other again. We will go on, you know, a date, and our kids will be a little older, and we can do more of that, you know, like, it'll be a little bit more about us. It's always going to be about our family, but it'll be a little bit more about us. Yeah. And putting each other first over, you know, the newborn that you're caring for. But when we first got married, this is an excellent point for newlyweds. I remember when I was still really trying to figure out my depression, when I was depressed and I would lean hard on Lawrence, he would get depressed. Like, it would, and I don't know if that's because you took it personally or because you just didn't know what to do.
Both.
Do you think it was both?
Well, and like, especially like starting out, if you're a couple where it's like, you know, you have debt and you don't necessarily have a good job, like fresh out of college and things like that.
Hard on you.
It was all of the life situations. Like, didn't have a good job, didn't have money, had debts, newlywed, health issues going on, can't have a baby, like all those kinds of things add to stressors. So then when she's depressed and explaining stuff to me, and then I get depressed because it's like, I don't know how to help. Like, I can't even, you know.
Oh, I just wanted you to listen.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, starting out when like it doesn't seem like anything's going right, you know, where it just like seems like just like every turn it's like you're just not where you want to be. It's hard not to just get consumed by it.
Man, we are so lucky. Look at everything we have now. We have 4 amazing kids. You have an awesome job. Always count your blessings. Always count your blessings. Yeah, and don't give up. That's the worst. Depression's the worst. So don't go there. I hope this podcast helped you guys. It's one I've really wanted to make because, like I said in the beginning, I don't know a woman who doesn't go through it. At least some form, at least some kind. Like I said, this is 4 kids. I was expecting it to be pretty bad. And honestly, I think that the worst I've had this time around is, like, I had a bum week. It wasn't my worst bum week ever, you know what I'm saying? And I think the hardest part has been some anxiety here and there. But I can't say that I've been actually depressed, but you would be the one that would notice that.
No, I mean, like we said, second and third pregnancies were bad. But the third one was more of just
the kids,
the overall kids, everything, whereas the second one was more of your body's reaction to it.
Yeah, that was
every pregnancy's had a little something different.
A little something, yeah.
It's never the same.
Has its own challenge.
That's where coming back to the thing about like record stuff, like make comparisons. Obviously, your first is that blank slate. You just have to trial and error the first one, but after that, that's when you can start falling back on like what experiences did we have the first go round that we can then build off of or avoid mistakes that we might have felt we made the first time, and you're just getting better from there.
Yeah, and talk to other moms. I love talking to other moms. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this podcast. If you like talking to other moms, maybe you like listening to me. I don't know. But it's something really close to my heart, and we all go through some kind of depression. Men go through quite a bit. That's why I asked you, do you go through sympathy depression? What's it like postpartum for you? But, the added responsibility, that makes a lot of sense. Lawrence is a rare duck. You just are. He's very rarely ever down, or if he does, he doesn't show it. I have multiple times called him the sunshine in my life because he is. I don't expect him to make me happy. That's not his responsibility to keep me from getting depressed or to take away my depression. But he just automatically makes me happier because he's always a happy person. And that is another superpower.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to when there is postpartum stuff, whether it's depression or things, you got to be the counterbalance. You can't, if someone's angry, you can't be angry too.
Yeah, don't join in.
Solve it. If someone's depressed or sad or morose about something, you can't also be that. You might agree with it, but you got to try to be the counter to that. Try to find something uplifting, or, if there is, this is a really unfortunate topic, try to find but on the other hand, there's that's something. Just be the balance. If you feed the issues, whether it's this depression or anger or sadness or whatever, it's not gonna help it. It's just gonna make it worse for both of you, because then you're gonna get down too, and then your wife is just gonna get deeper into it. So you just gotta find a way to just be that balance.
And you also don't want your kids to see that. I have cried, and my kids have seen it, and they're so sweet. That especially after our second, when I had all the autoimmune stuff, and even with our third, but just the times where I would cry, and Lawrence is at work, and the kids are so sweet. They come up and be like,
they can sense it
don't
too.
be sad, Mom. And they'll make a little sad face, and they'll hug me, and they'll just they're so sweet. So
kids have that innate sense.
I think it's okay for them to see you go through that. You don't want your kids to grow up and Mommy's not human. She
Mom's
never
cold.
It's good for them to learn empathy, and everyone has a bad day. That's okay.
It's kind of like what she was talking earlier about that whole class, that type A personality, where it's you're not asking for help. A lot of them don't want to show signs of quote weakness by crying in front of their kids or something like that. But you know what? It does. It helps your kids know that you're human, that you have emotions, that things bother you, and don't be afraid to show those, to let those emotions,
With that being said, I still have an area where I will go to, where the kids, do
you don't want to sit there bawling in front of your kids.
I don't want them to see me crying as often as I cry when I need to. However, so I know this isn't the podcast on finance that I said we were going to do. I'm still kind of working on that. There's some stuff that I want to be able to show you and make available for you so that you can really help your family get a leg up if you're planning, your finances and that type of thing. So I don't know if that's going to be next week or maybe the week after.
It'll be soon.
So thank you guys so much for watching this podcast, and let us know in the comments what you would like to hear next. Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.